I don't remember a coach getting anointed is the wrong word, but I think universally praised and everyone thought highly of to just completely losing his operation.
Yeah. I wasn't raising my hand to interrupt. I was raising my hand to say, yes, that was me.
Yeah, it's snowballed on him really fast. And I think, in different operations, you can go, the GM let the guy down. Ultimately, Kyle's the GM, right? I mean, Lynch is entitled, but there is not a player on the team. Like, Kyle has full control power of the roster. Every free agent, every draft pick. And, I think we just need to get into just the way of the 2021 draft is kind of reflective of the operation right now.
Hey, we're glad you're watching our video. Subscribe to our channel. Give this video a like. We appreciate it.
Yep. 50% of you are not subscribed to the channel. And also, I need you to subscribe to the podcast below in the description.
We're sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Yes, we are. #1 vodka in America.
On to the video. What do you mean?
Well, you want to hit some ads first and then go into it?
No, I'm not. I don't want to get to old Josh yet. Because I think just on the big picture, I'll say this.
But before John, like you're right. Okay, keep going.
As it relates to Kyle, we'll say what you're going to say. This is on Kyle. Is that what you're about to say?
Yeah, I just think that. I mean, ultimately, he just lost to Colt fucking McCoy at home, and right now, Cliff Kingsbury, who's someone that I have talked a lot of shit about, absolutely teabagged Kyle Shanahan today. Embarrassed him, clowned him. I mean, what do the kids say?
Drag.
You got dragged. Like, he dragged him up and down Levi Stadium as he was blowing kisses at Jed. Like, you guys are fucking losers now, and I'm gonna cruise into the playoffs. Cruise. Like, the Cardinals today. I mean, they're a lock. They are in the playoffs. When you're 8-1, is that their record right now? 8-1.
They might even have Kyler healthy by the time they get there at this rate.
That to me is like, if you were going to nitpick, like, can Kyler stay healthy? But the one thing you can't dispute is say this about Cliff and Steve Keim. There is a guy picking the players who has a history of picking players. Why? He's a general manager and a scout and good. And then Cliff coaches the team. And he asks what they need and he gives it to them. And they're on the same page. Like, Kyle is this, authoritative figure who it doesn't quite feel has to answer to anybody. And I know it's like, well, he got forced into Trey Lance. Bullshit. If he wanted fucking Mac Jones, he would have drafted Mac Jones. I don't believe that for a second. Now, did he, every guy on this team is handpicked by Kyle Shanahan. Just a fact.
Yeah, I don't believe it either, because I don't believe that Kyle, for all his belief in what he does, would not recognize that the decision he made at quarterback was the biggest decision of his career, which is what we said at the time. This is the biggest decision of his career, and suddenly in that moment let somebody pressure him to do something that he didn't want to do. Don't buy that for a second.
Wouldn't have happened. Not when he had the amount of juice that Kyle would have had in March. Like, he had infinitely more. It just felt like equity with everyone, the juice. Now, it would have been a controversial decision. It was snowballing that way, right? But he could have done it. He just could have. 100% he could have done it. He chose not to because he wanted Trey Lance.
I don't think I would never say never, right? Who said that recently? Never say never, but never. Mike Tomlin. Never say never, but never. So obviously I think the conversation is going to come up now, given how bad the loss was, given that this team's playoff hopes are, headed down the toilet. Although if they'd won somehow Sunday, they would have been the 7th seed. I believe pretty wild. The NFC, there's some bad teams, the NFC. There's not 6 great ones.
Well, Minnesota is also a bad team at 3-5, but they are way more competitive than the Niners. Like, watching them today, like they were on a completely different level. Like, today's efforts by two teams that are 3-5, and it feels like Minnesota was really, really tight. Like, they should have won that game. They were in control of the game, and then obviously Lamar's incredible. The Niners just got bent over at home by Colt McCoy. Like, that just happened. Colt McCoy.
Has Eno Benjamin been active for, he's been in the league for a year and change, but I don't think he's been active that much. And he ran an exclamation point touchdown down their throat. But what I was going to say, huh?
I didn't.
The Drake Kirkpatrick where he ran through him, that was Eno Benjamin. I know it looked like James Conner.
I didn't realize that at the time.
It looked like James Conner, who looked like Jerome Bettis.
Low man wins, and he's low.
Yeah, tough place to be. But, I think the question about hot seat is it's begun. Like, I've seen the conversation now. One thing Kyle is going to get is if the other stuff stays in line, right? His relationship with Jed, the operation in the building, team not falling apart, not other drama in terms of leadership. Like, he drafted Trey Lance. He's going to get the chance to play and develop Trey Lance beyond this year. I believe that, right? That's what I think right now. But, I'll never say never. That you just don't know how once you start losing, things can get weird. It's a lot easier when you're winning for people to get along and everything to be cool and plans to go, people who disagree to find compromises. When you're losing, people who disagree. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think because of the quarterback, that specific conversation is probably going to go on for a while. It's going to have to wait for resolution. But I know it's begun, and I understand why it's begun, because it's just a continuation of a team that's won a lot less than it's lost.
I'm with you. You never say never, but never. As of recording this November 7th, 5:00 on Sunday, I think he has a lock. Again, it's as ugly. It could even get uglier. As of right now, I think he has, obviously this year, and he has 2 more years with Trey Lance minimum. Like, I think he's got 2.5 years left. If it just keeps going shitty, then he would be in major trouble. But, like, he's getting a couple years with Trey Lance. And I was thinking about this today because it's going to be a conversation that a lot of people are going to say, hot seat, fire fucking Kyle. You do realize that Jed York, minus 1 Kyle Shanahan year and landing Jim Harbaugh, like, the York ownership, his parents and him included, is a clown show. Includes Mike Nolan, includes Mike Singletary, includes Jim Tom Sula, includes Chip Kelly, who was worse than all of them statistically and record-wise. Chip Kelly was worse than all 3 of those guys I just listed. So it's like, this is not, and listen, hiring coaches is hard. Like John Mara, right? It feels like he misses on coaches constantly. But, like, Jed York does not want to have to even attempt to do this again. So he is not in any rush based on the family history and knowing how ugly it can get fast. Like, at least he's seen this guy have success under his watch. And he's under contract for a long time, right? This is year 2 of a 6-year contract. So he's a year and a half in to 6 years. That helps, right? If he had not got extended or whatever, and this was, right, year 5, like, is he going to get an extension? Like, yeah, it'd be a major question. But he got an extension after 3 years for 6 seasons. 6! And you could say, hey, that's on the owner feeling a little too excitement. Yeah, you could make that argument now. At the time, no one was. But that's just a fact. And when you factor in that they've mortgaged the future for the quarterback, which Kyle had to sign off on. So why wouldn't you just let him coach him?
Hey, just want to tell you guys to check out Liquid IV. Use the code HAM to get 25% off and go hydrate.
Yep. Also, you want to get your gamble on? Go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code HAM1, and gamble away.
Yeah, right? The only thing that always comes into play in those situations, John, is, like, what does your stadium start to look like? Are people flying planes again? And that's where I think this week we'll have the conversation, although we can talk about a little bit today about Trey Lance. Like, that's part of where that comes into play. But it just has felt like more often than not, the Niners are buying time until the next time, right? Like, oh, the quarterback was hurt. Let's just get through this year and we'll get to the next year. Let's just get through this year and we'll get to the next year. At some point, people stop waiting for the next year. And there's no first-round pick to tank for, so they're going to keep trying to win. Right?
It hit me today, though, but you can tank for the second round.
It's true. You can tank for the second round and then somehow trade the tanked third and the tanked second. Do they have a third this year? Next year?
I think so, yeah.
To move up to the end of the first round?
I think they get a Robert Saleh pick as well this year. But, I mean, Guy, it's November 7th, and we mentioned the second.
No,
I
don't want to talk about that yet. I can't do that yet.
I can't either.
Right?
But they're coming off the worst loss of the weekend. The worst. Like the Bills lost. Bills were on the road. You can go 12-5. You're one of those 5 losses is not going to be against a playoff team. Like it feels terrible at the time, but you'll go, the Jags won 4 games. They're going to knock off. I bet if you look at most really shitty teams that win, not like the Lions that are going to win 1 game, but a team that wins like 5 games, who we consider terrible, especially now, 5. You win 5 games, you go 5-12. I bet 3 of those wins might have to happen after November against good teams. I'm not saying the Bills are happy about their loss or it looks good right now, but they lost on the road. It fucking happens. The Niners lost at home to a backup quarterback who has 5 starts since 2015 and didn't just lose. It'd be, the Bills lost 9-6. The Niners lost 31-17, but it feels like 5. It feels like they lost 31-5.
No, the difference, there's a massive difference between the Niners loss and the Bills loss. And the difference is, like, you don't gain 25 pounds in a month when you have pizza occasionally if you eat a bunch of other good meals. The Bills are largely eating good meals and exercising. The Bills are eating their vegetables and their milk and they're exercising. And they had a slice, 2 slices, maybe a 3rd slice of pizza today. They got beat by the Jags, whatever. The Niners have looked up, and every week, every meal is a bad meal. And the next thing you know, you've gained 25 pounds. So the Jags beating the Bills doesn't, in the big picture, the Bills are fine. The problem with the Niners, if the Niners were 6-2 coming in this game, you'd say bad loss, but who cares? You move on. But it's the culmination. And it's that when you get backed into a corner, then that's when we should get your desperate best effort. And they were backed into a corner. We eventually got their desperate best effort against the Bears. They got backed into a corner again against the Cardinals and got a break. It broke their way. Like, this is not, I can't talk about that just things don't go their way. The refs, the fumbles, they caught a huge break this week. And what did the umpire say? And they kicked it? That's
Muffed
the guy,
it.
yeah. No, the umpire that blew the Detroit Tigers guy's perfect game. I kicked it. That's when he apologized. I just kicked it.
Yeah.
And they kicked it. They blew it.